Hi everyone, so thanks for all of your great messages. Chloe and I went to our 3-day wilderness survival class and we posted a video and we got so many great comments. A lot of you wanted to know how it went. Some of you really wanted information on how to do it. Sorry, I'm trying to get my lighting right here. On how to go about signing up for a class like this. You wanted to know about what's in our grab and go packs. So I'll attack those questions later. Right now I just wanted to say we're back. We had a really good time. Admittedly, it was much more intense than I think I was expecting. I've done some of these classes, but they were more wilderness medicine classes with a group of doctors, mostly done in really nice resorts. So I apologize. I'm always chasing the sun in my house. It's all windows here. So I'm always trying to get out of the direct sunlight. So if I look like a vampire, see there, that's better. So we had a really good time. It was 3 days in, let me see, is this better? If I do this, is that better or worse? That's worse. Okay. Anyways, we'll see how that is. It was 3 days out in the wilderness, and so we were kind of off the grid. I had a little bit of coverage once in a while, but really it wasn't my goal to try and stay connected. I apologize, but to stay connected to Facebook, I tried to just tap in a little bit one night when I was trying to go to sleep. I had a lot of people asking me why I wanted to do this, and I think I touched on that in our first video, because when I am afraid of something or I'm concerned about something, it's sort of one of those personal things for me. I need to come up with solutions and answers of how to be able to do it. Especially like if I can't, I must. It's a Tony Robbins saying that I love. If I can't, I must. And after going through some of my challenges in my life, you get these negative thoughts in your head. Well, I can't because I've been through this health issue or that health issue, or I can't because that made me weaker than most people, and so those are things where I always want an answer and a solution to that, because I'm not okay with that. So that Viktor Frankl book talks a lot, Man's Search for Meaning, talks a lot about how there are parts of myself that I do not need to tolerate. And I love that. So that's sort of why, like, Daniel was teasing me. Him and his dad were both giving me a hard time, Chloe and I, and they're like, his dad said, well, what, are you not taking care of her? Are you not supporting her enough? Like, what does she feel like she needs to go do this for? And Daniel's like, are you afraid we're not going to have enough to eat? Like, why are you doing this? It has nothing to do with that for me. For me, it has to do with overcoming those weaker parts of myself and not tolerating that part of myself that I'm afraid of. So that's why I did it, and I really loved it. It was a great bonding experience. I have to tell you, it was a fantastic bonding experience with Chloe. She learned so much. For a teenager, it was fantastic. And to not be on her phone, for days at a time, and just be out there, in the mountains with me, being that close, even though we both smelled pretty bad. Not having a shower for 3 days was really interesting. So anyways, so lots of wet wipes. That was really funny. But, so it was fantastic. But, so let's see, there were a lot of lessons. Some of the lessons were amazing. Let's see, what were the lessons? This is something I've always known, but it really applies here. Knowledge does not always translate to real life. Right? I know in the trauma unit when I was a nurse, I used to say, when I first got my first job as a trauma nurse, I was a straight A student, and I thought, oh, I've got this. This isn't going to be hard. All of a sudden, I went onto the trauma unit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, none of these patients read my books. And so real life was nothing like what I had been trained for. Well, I noticed that to be true out there. All the things I have read, all the classes I've taken sitting in a hotel somewhere, on some lovely beach, didn't apply. So it was very interesting. You can't, hearing about altitude illness, and fatigue and, all of those things while you're trying to work is not the same thing as experiencing it. So it's really good experience to go out there and know. And I am usually over prepared for everything. It's like a joke in my family that I am ready for the zombie apocalypse. So I'm like a disaster planner. I've got like everything. I went with way more stuff than I'm supposed to for this class, and I figured, well, they won't know. I'll just keep it in my car in case I need it, in case of an emergency. I'll hike back to the car and get it. So I had so much stuff that I ended up not needing, but there were several things that I needed that I did not have, and that was interesting because I thought I had everything. So that was actually a really good lesson for me. I mean, nature's the best teacher, right? The wilderness is the best teacher. So I was like, wow, okay, that was really good. And to be around a bunch of experts and see their tips was really fantastic. So that was really interesting. Pacing and energy, that was a big lesson. So I stay fit, I work out, I stay in shape. But to be out there at, over 7,000 feet, and which isn't super high, but it's high enough. If you're not used to being in the altitude, when I got up there, I felt pretty good. But then all of a sudden, that first day they worked us was the hardest day. It was the most intense day. My fitness watch was blowing up. Like I had burned like over 4,000 calories by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I didn't take into account, oh, I'm going at this pace, this high intensity. I was sweating profusely, and I'm at over 7,000 feet, which I'm not used to doing, and I wasn't eating. I was drinking water, but I wasn't eating. And so all of a sudden, like, I just started to crash. And so I'm like, whoa, okay, so pacing, energy, altitude. And one thing I didn't have in my pack, I've got everything in my first aid kit, like crazy stuff that most people do not have. I mean, I've got EpiPens, I've got antibiotics, and I've got everything in that stupid thing. So I've got, medicine if you get poison oak or I've got everything. I didn't have electrolytes in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I started to realize with that altitude sickness and all the sweating, the only thing that was going to make us feel better was electrolytes, and I didn't have them. So yeah, the electrolyte water does not count, trust me. So I'm like, wow. But what I learned something really cool. Emergency. The emergency packets, those have enough electrolytes to make you feel better pretty quickly. So from now on, in my pack is emergency. So I was like really happy to discover that little trick. So yeah, that was a big thing I learned. And along with that pacing and energy, so we get completely worn out, we're not feeling well, we come back, and at the end of the first day, they start emergency first aid. And that was a huge light bulb moment for me. I'm like, I've got all this medical training. I've spent a tremendous amount of time investing in things like wilderness medicine. But what I didn't anticipate, until you experience it, you can't know. I'm exhausted. It's getting dark. And now you have to take care of someone who's in an emergency situation, and they give you these scenarios. And I'm like, but I can't, because I can't focus, and I'm worn out, and it's getting cold. And you know that as a triage person, if you're a nurse or a medical person, you know what I'm talking about with triage. Triage means you have to figure out the most important thing first, right? So, but what happens if they're all important? You've got to protect someone from the elements. You've got to get a fire and a shelter going, but you've got someone who's either bleeding or hit their head or whatever. But if you don't get them protected from the elements, they're going to die anyways. And so are you. And you're like, oh my God, but I'm so tired, I can't move. But that was a big light bulb moment for me. That was actually really important for me to learn, because having all the knowledge in the world can't prepare you for that. So I had to step back and go, wow, okay, being a hero like early on, or being competitive or trying to get everything done isn't necessarily the goal. What the goal is pacing yourself. The goal is knowing that those unexpected things can come up. So be ready for them. Know that you've got an answer if they come up. And so that was really important, because I'm a little competitive. So when I see, there were 6 girls and 40 guys, and I'm like, or whatever, there was 40 of us, and there were very few women, and I'm like, I am not going to be that woman that doesn't get this done. So I'm like, killing it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I can't function for the next part of this. Stupid. That was just a stupid move. So that was another thing. Let's see. Another big takeaway for me was that this translates. This information is very practical. I highly recommend it, especially for women or teenagers, people who never had military training or Boy Scout training. I actually think it's really important, because when I take road trips with my daughter. So road trips or evacuation situations. We have this massive fire. By the way, if you were affected by the fires recently, I'm so sorry for you. We were off the grid, so I didn't even know what was going on. And we were driving back home, and we got rerouted. And the fires, we were they were so close to us as we were driving in. They're terrible. But if you get evacuated from somewhere, or you're on a road trip, and let's just say your car goes off-road, or the weather, something happens. I always keep emergency packs in all of our cars. every single one of my cars has an emergency pack with enough stuff in it for several days. So it's got, you know, tools and all that stuff in it. But what I really liked was this training would have been perfect. Like for if you know, something happens to you on a road trip, somebody gets hurt, you get evacuated, whatever the situation is, and you find yourself in a situation that's out of your comfort zone, all of this training that we did was sort of applicable, especially the first aid part of it was really interesting because it's first aid for when you've got nothing. Literally nothing. Like it's for when you don't have the training that I have. It's for when you don't have the medical supplies that I always keep with me. And so I thought that was fascinating. For Chloe, it was like, she is still like astounded. The only reason she's not doing this live chat with me, she's wiped out. So she still has a little bit of that altitude sickness and she's just completely wiped out. So she'll join me on the next one. But it was really great. And then the first aid part of it was fantastic. You actually get certified in first aid. And it's taught by some pretty legit guys. They're just amazing. They've got great credentials. And I really liked the bonding, teamwork, and communication aspect. They really focus a lot on that. Because you know, in any situation like that, it's going to be the bonding, teamwork, and communication that's going to get you through. So just a lot of cool people there. So let's see. I had way too much stuff. What didn't I have? One thing that would have helped a lot, we were sleeping in a tent. It got down to 36 degrees at night. It was really cold. I mean, it was really cold at night. And it was warm when we got there, and then all of a sudden the temperature shifted, which happens in the mountains, right? It shifted, and then it got really cold by the time we left. So glove warmers. If I had glove warmers, you know, that you use for skiing to throw in the end of your sleeping bag, it would have increased the temperature in my sleeping bag by 10 degrees. Didn't have that because I'm always focused on medical stuff. A saw. They have those little tiny folding saws. One of the reasons I was so tired, I carved everything with a knife. That is like, oh my gosh, I was so tired. Finally, I went and asked somebody if they had a saw, and I was able to borrow someone's saw. But a little bitty saw in your emergency pack will do you wonders. So have a little saw. Better food options. I took all that camping food because I knew we weren't going to be able to, you know, go anywhere and cook during the day. And that camping food, though, I didn't really think about the fact that you have to stop and boil water, and you can't always stop and boil water. We didn't even have time. So believe it or not, those little, just like I tell you guys for traveling, those little tiny cans of Pop Top salmon, wild salmon with coconut wraps would have been perfect. And more bars, more of the organic, like chia bars, like high calorie bars, because I was burning way more calories. That was my big mistake. I didn't take enough food because I took food for what I normally burn and what Chloe and I normally burn, and we were burning at least 3 times what we normally burn. So yeah, we didn't take enough food, so we were hungry. And by the time that nighttime came around, we had eaten a lot of our food during the day. We planned on eating for dinner. We were just so hungry. And they made things like a massive pot of spaghetti. They surprised us and made us dinner. They didn't tell us they were going to. But they made this massive pot of spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread. And I have to tell you, I haven't eaten spaghetti in years. It was so freaking good. Like, I don't even feel bad about it. I ate 4 pieces of garlic bread, I ate spaghetti and meatballs, and I had seconds. And I was so hungry. It tasted so good, I cannot even tell you. So I follow my 95-5 rule, but that's that 5% where I was never so grateful to have gluten in my life. So yeah, it was really tasty. And then the next night, and I have to tell you, I actually have a personal bias against processed meat, but I ate hot dogs. I'm going to tell you, I ate hot dogs and I ate canned beans. And it just never tasted so good. What can I say? I'm not going to lie to you. There are times where you're going to be grateful for whatever is there. So I have a new appreciation for people who have not eaten for a while. Even though it's not that I was homeless or wasn't eating, I was so hungry. There's no way whatever was there I was going to eat. So yeah, that was a big aha moment for me, was take more food, take better, easier food options. High calorie bars that are, like I would have taken my chia bars that are high calorie. That would have been great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next level. So just wanted to touch base with you. I posted photos. If you haven't seen them, I posted photos last night. If you have any questions about the training, please let me know. It was really a lot of fun, and it wasn't expensive. Unlike my medical training courses, which are pretty pricey because they're, you know, with a bunch of doctors at high-priced, you know, resorts sometimes. This was not. You either sleep in the shelter you build or you take a tent. if you dare, because they kind of tease you for it, but it's okay. They're cool people. And so it's pretty inexpensive for what you get out of it. So highly recommend it. Survival training, and you can totally use this stuff for your disaster planning. You can use it for your grab and go. Like everything in my backpack doubles as a grab and go bag. So enjoy, take care. I'll do another one with Chloe, and then I'll follow up with grab and go, because a lot of questions on grab and go bags. It surprises me because that's not my specialty. My specialty is more health, but it doesn't surprise me with the nature of what's going on in the world today. So happy to help out with that. And I do have 3 videos on YouTube, because a lot of people have been asking. I already have 3 videos on YouTube. They're very basic, because I can't do advanced videos for people who are just starting out. They would get overwhelmed and not do anything at all. So 3 videos on just how to get started, basic for traveling, for basic first aid, and for disaster planning, or when the unexpected happens. Just what are the bare minimum things you can start with, and then how to add on from there. And then I'll talk to you more about a grab and go bag. Okay, take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, I can't finish this.